Sensitivity is intelligence. With grace and skill, you have abundance. Welcome to the Psychic Hour. Host Kelly Brickle is a psychic medium, numerologist, healer, and teacher. Her passions are learning about the soul and energy. Whether through spirit, emotion, or vibrational numbers, there is always a pathway of information waiting to help. Now, here is your host of the Psychic Hour, Kelly Brickle.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Psychic Hour. I'm Kelly Brickle. Thank you for joining me today. We're hosting and broadcasting at 5 p.m., so it's a little bit different time, so hopefully people can spread the word and come on in. And we have a fantastic show today, so we're going to be going and talking with Geof Jowett, and he's a psychic medium mentor. He does healing work. He's an author, and we're going to dive into his story and just the multitude of resources that he has in his life. He comes from a multitude of backgrounds as well. So we'll get into it, science and spirituality. So that's always fascinating to see both of those hemispheres come together. So please say hello as you're coming on in. Hello, Keith. Hello, Jennifer. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being with us here today. And you know how it goes. If you have any questions about the topics we are talking about, pop in your comments and we get the discussion going further. So with that said, I'm going to bring in Geof just out of the gate. So here we go. Hello. How are you doing today? Hello.
Doing great. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you.
Absolutely. You've always been a medium that I've wanted to have on the show. So thank you for coming on. It's a pleasure. And hello, everyone coming on in. So I always give an introduction to our guests, whether you know Geof or this is the first time hearing about him. Geof's career took him on the path to discover more about natural law and life. He worked in the biotechnology field for 7 years and then taught college biology and anatomy at four colleges. His emotional intelligence was enhanced tremendously as the dean of students at an art college and then a college for alternative and complementary medicine. As a medium and intuitive, he provides you with the opportunities of communicating with your departed loved ones and spirit guides. And as a teacher and college administrator, he provides active learning experiences so you can get expansion of your consciousness, apply and develop your intuitive abilities, connect, and be with your spirit guides, realizing and understanding the unlimited power that one possesses when connecting to spirit. Geof's knowledge and wisdom is a wonderful resource for developing mediums and people learning about the other side. He is an author of 4 books, The Power of I Am, Aligning Chakras of Consciousness, Lasting Impressions, and Mediums Cherished Messages from Spirit, Hope for Parents Who Have Lost Children, and I wrote that one all topsy-turvy. I think it's what is grandma cooking in heaven?
What's cooking in heaven, Grandma?
Thank you. I don't know why I wrote that one topsy-turvy, but thank you for helping me out, Geof. As well as he's the creator of the Blessed by Angels tarot deck. Geof mentors and teaches classes throughout the year and many different ways. He shares his gifts through events, one-on-one readings, and also a variety of different ways, whether it's color ribbon reading, reading the energetic body, or with his psychic and mediumship skills. So thank you so much, Geof, for coming in today and being with us.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to sharing.
Absolutely. So Dr. Emery says hello. Oh, that's a beautiful comment. The light in me recognizes the light in you. Jennifer McCormick, first time watching Geof, and Maria too as well. So thank you everyone for coming on in. So Geof, you come from a background of science, biotechnology, biology, medicine. When did you find spirit start to bridge the gap for you into the more intuitive world? Was it always there when you were young, or did it start to come out more and more as you became adults?
Right. My earliest memories, I can remember standing in my crib, and I had four visitors that would come to me and impress upon me wisdom and understanding that I was going to be like a doctor, but not someone who healed bodies. It was to help people with their spiritual path. And I was raised Catholic, so I searched for spirituality through there. There's some foundational principles, and then from there, I was always inquisitive. I wanted to know what makes us alive, what makes us living. And then one of the big aha moments came when my great grandfather died. That was the first dead body I saw. And I heard his presence there saying that I am with you, that I'm not in that body, but don't be sad because I haven't gone anywhere. And I started to realize too that ever since I was little, I saw auras. And I would draw auras around my characters in school. My teachers were not understanding, and I didn't understand why they didn't see what I saw. But when I saw my great grandfather lying in his casket, I saw his energy field was gone too. And that's when I had the aha, like, wow. So his consciousness is still here, but he's not in his physical body anymore. And that really set me on a path. So when I went to college, I studied biology, and I specialized in molecular and cellular biology. I wanted to study life on the very small level to understand the essence of life. And it, took me on lots of different journeys. Like you said, biotechnology, which was cutting edge in the late 80s when I got out of grad school. I did cancer research at Roswell Cancer Institute. That's where I did my master's. And I worked with children. I volunteered with terminally ill children. And one of the greatest teachers I had in grad school was a little girl named Elizabeth. I would go and play the game of life with her, very metaphoric. And I went several times, and then I would go every week. And after several weeks, I showed up and she wasn't there, and they had told me that she had passed. But the last meeting I had with her, she said, why you come and talk to me is because I'm here to tell you that you're going to help people who lose their children from the other side. And that she was very excited about the afterlife. She already connected with her grandfather who was there. And so that was a strong awakening too. And as much as I was in science, I always had that question about, how can we define spirit? How can we define consciousness? And our vocabulary is limited when it comes to that, but we all have those experiences. We all have intuition. We all have connections to spirit. It's just some of us put our attention more toward there versus the busyness of the physical world.
Absolutely. So you said when you were young, you felt the energy that your grandfather was no longer there. So you kind of felt the energy presence of an aura, but you were more aware of the scene maybe first?
Yeah. And so I realized that there's something energetic about the body. And, this is where my sisters would say I was a little creepy. I had a little pet cemetery because I was fascinated with death. And I was fascinated with death because I wanted to understand life. And I was the one who would volunteer as an altar boy to work at the funeral. I wanted to be close to death just because I knew it wasn't the end all. I knew there was something more, and I was trying to discover that. And I remember I had those old metal secret lozenge boxes, and I bury my pet turtles when they die, and I dig them up, and they're disappearing. But I was realizing that that's just a physical thing. That there's still the essence of that turtle, my pet, with me, and it just sent me on a journey of every day asking why, and I think we're perpetual students. None of us are a master of everything, and I find one of the greatest and most beautiful properties of an individual who's someone who wants to explore, who wants to discover, who wants to know more why. And I don't have the answers. Spirit doesn't have all the answers, but just helping them connect to their higher self, to me, is a gift. I'm a big fan of Edgar Cayce and Rudolf Steiner and Carl Jung, and their work all around the soul, and knowing and understanding that there was something more than this physicalness, and it's bigger and it's brighter and it's happier and it's lighter and it's loving and compassionate. And I learned that the more time I spent talking to the spirit realm, the more I felt at home. I felt comfortable, and I felt like it felt so genuine and sincere to me, more so than anything in the physical.
Absolutely. So when you were a kid, you're asking the questions of why, and you have this very inquisitive mind, and also you're getting information from different places. So naturally, maybe you chose science, but ultimately, what brought you there and what kept you there? Because it is such a cerebral place if you're so energy sensitive as a young child.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I wanted to try to quantify it. I wanted to put a formula with it. I wanted to try to, fit it into something that was believable, because it was so real to me. But what I found I went through life. So it's interesting because I ended up teaching college for years, traditional, like pre-med, pre-nursing students, anatomy. Then I went to an art school and I taught there. And that's more about expanding from what you see and abstracting it and expressing it according to what you feel and what you think. That kind of helped get me more. I think it helped really, truly help me develop my clairvoyance. I saw things differently. But in nature, what is so beautiful about nature is the essence of the truth of spirit. The roses in a petal, the bone markings on any one of your bones, like everything is so perfect and beautiful. And, the whole idea of structure relates to function, and we see these repetitive patterns. I mean, to me, it's amazing that every single living thing on the planet has genetic material that's all made of the same stuff. And so I've looked for that whole idea of how is everything connected. And I think one of my big frustrations in the world, when I get stuck in the world, especially if it's political or religious, is the divisiveness. Like there's this energy that's trying to divide everything and everyone, when the essence of spirit tells you, no, we're all the same. Everything's an extension of you. The rock, the tree, your dog, everyone's just in. So that's where when I say I feel more at home, when I'm in the essence of my spiritual practice, which is meditation, journaling, yoga. And I picked up spiritual painting during the pandemic, because Spirit said, here's a new way for you to express yourself that words can't. So colors are vibrations and images and so forth. So yeah, it's every day it's a new learning experience.
It is. It never gets old. It never gets tired. There's always something new. The soul has infinite lessons. That's very, very cool, though, that you've combined both worlds for yourself, at least like with how we process information. So you sharpen the left side and the right
The
side.
thing you learned about science too is science, you can't prove anything. You can only show something doesn't work, because people are constantly asking, prove to me. You're talking to my grandma, my mom, or whatever. The proof comes in what you feel. That's the closest way you can do it. But pick anything in science. Everything's a theory. Nothing can be proven, because the law of vibration is always changing things. Not only changing things, but changing our consciousness, our perception, and our awareness. And another area I'm really passionate about studying is consciousness. And I have the opportunity to teach psychology now, and I love getting into the whole idea of altered states of consciousness and understanding how the mind is. There's so much more to know and understand about it, and the power it has, and the whole process of how we manifest. And I love the topic of manifestation, how we create. It all starts with that ripple of thoughts, and then they become waves of action, and then they become our reality. but we are so powerful. And to tap into that and to manifest and create your true purpose. And I believe all our purpose is to serve others, in some way. In Eastern philosophy, they would call that your dharma, your soul path. But to have the opportunity to help people open that door for themselves, that gives me great joy.
Absolutely. It's all part of the same coin, so it just highlights truths from different angles. And with meditation, it's so important to cultivate that practice in our spiritual development, which science shows, mostly we're in alpha and beta, but meditation takes us into theta and delta, and that's what the brain is registering when we're doing mediumship and psychic and it just all makes sense when you really start putting it together. It really does. It's not just the feels, even though the
Yeah,
feels.
there's definitely more similarities between metaphysics and science, just as there is a lot of agreements too in religion. Religions have principles that are very important. Everything's part of a puzzle of the truth, and it's just fun to be here to explore it and experience it.
Absolutely. I love science, but I've never been one to be super mathematical, even though I love numerology. That's a different vibrational connection. But I always did love science, and I did kind of teeter more towards the biology side of things. But when it came to physics, I never got to delve in, but I was always fascinated by it. So what kind of uh, percolated my interests were just like these different discussions that sometimes would be pumped out on the internet or at conferences about non-local physics
Mhm.
and particle and wave theory. And all that I think perfectly describes why we're able to connect and give readings over Zoom, or why we're able to know so much about a person's life even if they're right across from us in the same room, how we're able to share energy so intimately, and it baffles people's minds, how we're so deeply connected.
So, and you use the perfect word, energy. That as science is even evolving, there's the knowing and understanding that we're more empty space. There's nothing really physical. It's just some energy is moving slower, and our perception is that it's solid. But when you start to really get into all the fascinating theories, string theory, particle theory, it's just fascinating. And I've also had a passion for astronomy because I love the understanding of the stars and the expansiveness. And as a kid, I remember I grew up with 5 sisters. I'm the only boy. So my dad would take me for Sunday night walks and I was the why, like, why are the stars twinkling? I kept him on his toes. He was a teacher too. But I really enjoy um, understand that everything that you explore in nature, even the swirl in a cell, the swirl in an atom, and the swirl in the universe, there's this repetitive pattern over and over and over again. And it's because we're all made of the same stuff. They say cut from the same cloth, but at the essence of its energy. And what is so amazing is that when you realize that you have the remote control to change the vibration of that frequency, and that changes everything, because your vibration determines how you perceive things and who you attract to and the experiences you have. And it's just, that's where I truly believe magic is. And I think all the great teachers were trying to teach us that. If you take Christ's teachings and really put them in terms of Christ consciousness, it makes so much sense, and not like taking it so literal. But with all the philosophies, I mean, I find that with all the Eastern philosophies I've explored, Hinduism, I don't know a lot about them, but I've explored them to try to understand the essence of what they're seeking as truth. But what truth is you. It's understanding the essence of yourself and how you're using yourself to fit in and complement and, enhancing the vibration of the universe. That's what religion is to me, is that essence of, gifting that higher vibration.
Absolutely. With the great teachers and healers, I consider, Jesus to be of those. And I feel the more we understand energy, the more I believe, at least, Jesus was a channel, a healing channel, as many other things. That's a discussion in itself. So the more that you've expanded your sensitivity, what have you found within your healing understanding with the way the universe works?
So it's a constant vibration. It's in constant motion, and that the less that I try to anticipate or expect the future, the more at peace I'm at. And so that's where I'm I'm doing a lot of my work, is knowing that, truth truly is in the present moment, because that's the essence of my being. But, knowing that spending my whole life with anatomy and all these molecular cell biology, it's the body's fascinating, but it's probably a billionth as interesting as the spirit. I mean, but what I find fascinating, again, is this repetitive pattern, whether it's in a bone, a cell, the universe, a dog, a tree, how we really are of one, and that's the message I'd love to get out to people, to, stop focusing on the division and focus on the commonality, and together then we can, expand. And, I'm open every day. When I begin my day and journal, I say I'm open to receive whatever lessons there are for me to learn. And being a perpetual student has allowed me to help be a mentor, a facilitator. I think my biggest role that I've discovered is, if I can take science and metaphysical principles and help people understand them, to help them remove any barrier they have for understanding themselves, so that they can find it themselves. As a teacher in the classroom, there's nothing more exciting than when a kid lights up and just like, oh, they get that understanding. It's not giving it to them. I'm not teaching them. I'm helping them see it, so they're teaching themselves. And I think that's what's really important. And especially when it comes to the idea of spirituality, I think it purposefully exists without major churches. I know there are churches and philosophies and everything that are that contribute quite a bit, but there really is a big part of it, I think, is going in on your own and having that self-exploration, pioneering, discovering, things about yourself and the world. It is invaluable. But really being mindful and understanding that everything that's happening to you today was not just randomly happening. There's causation because of vibration.
Absolutely. Do you ever walk into class saying, okay, we're going to cover this, but the human body is 1 billionth as interesting as the spirit, and we can't really get into that today. Um, is that kind of shared a little bit in class, or do people
So my
know that?
first lesson in any anatomy class, and I love doing this, is I say, okay, if I have an animal that's in a jar or a model of a human, I'm saying, what's the difference between this dead creature and you? And, they always go to, well, no respiration, no heartbeat, no. Let's go further than that. Like, what's missing from that? That's, and I really try to get them thinking. And some of them are stuck in their paradigms, which there's nothing wrong with, but I'm just trying to push them a little bit, expanding it. And some of them say, it's because God. And some people say because it's just a bunch of chemistry happening. But when they really get to know and understand at the end of the term, after 9 months of anatomy, it's fun to revisit the question. Now, what do you think? And there's a lot more questions now because they see like, oh, how does a nerve conduct? How does a muscle contract with all those, millions of molecules? How does a cell produce proteins, thousands and thousands and thousands every moment? Then they really start to see, wow, there's got to be something bigger going on because this randomly couldn't all just happen. And I think that's the fun part of opening their eyes, to understand. And, teaching anatomy is fun because you're teaching people how to take better care of themselves, essentially, even if they don't remember, at least they have that. Well, I like to be that way as a spiritual teacher too, is teaching people how to take better care of their spirit. Or a workshop that I'm teaching now is called Befriending Your Higher Self. And it's taking time to date your higher self, to be aware of your higher self's presence. Like sit every day for 10 or 15 minutes and commune with your higher self. Your higher self is that part of tapping into your soul that knows your whole life. It knows every life you've ever had. It knows your weaknesses. It knows your strengths, your fears, your joys. And it's your greatest teacher, your best friend, and your wisest teacher. So sit in presence. Go for a walk in nature in the presence with self. Like teaching people that is, I think, invaluable because where they'll go to discover that, if you give them a couple little skills to develop, it's unlimited.
Yeah. Do people get to know your background of the books that you wrote as when you're simultaneously teaching biology or let's say psychology you mentioned? Do people understand that you have that background? And also when you talked about like the causation of energy, do you encourage people to live better lives too with what they're learning in class?
Yeah, and I teach them my big lesson, and my big lesson is eliminating as much resistance as possible, the resistance within myself, because I still every day run into resistance, but I recognize it quicker and I get out of it faster. Resistance can come from something that happened, 10 years ago, or it could happen for something that happened today. It could be a thought, emotion, but something that really blocks. And realizing that resistance, the universe is so kindly saying, don't go that way. There's a better way to go.
Yes.
Yes, path of least resistance.
It's easier said than done. A lot of times our resistance is our coping mechanism. So it can seem almost like a counterintuitive, even though ultimately it is the most intuitive thing.
Well,
But
the thing I appreciate about studying psychology is just that, is understanding the personality and so forth. But what I'm learning, so I do soul progression readings now too as a side, as Edgar Casey, similar to what he did. But what I look at what archetypical patterns of the chakras that people have a habit of. And that's usually what they created their life around. So their spirit or their soul says, hey, I'm gonna send a portion of myself down to the earth plane in the form of spirit. And I'm going to pick a costume, just like we pick a Halloween costume. And I'm going to pick a personality that's going to be ideal. But if mine is like, I just have a hard time speaking my truth or, believing that people care what I have to say, I'm going to pick a personality that's maybe a little timid and shy around that. But I'm also going to pick perhaps a family and situations early on where I'm restricted, because in that restriction, I'm going to resist and overcome. And I'm not sure why this is. If anyone can tell me, I've been seeking this out, but why it is we tend to learn more through pain and suffering than just joy and happiness. But when we're in body, I think the ego loves drama. I tell people the earth is drama school. We love to have, this is where we use all our emotions, but where we use our dramatic events, but those will help us understand. And I think as a spirit, that's why it's so invaluable we come here, because spirit is constantly watching what we're doing. It's like reality TV. Imagine the laughs they have with some of the choices we make. But how brave we are as a spirit to come here and actually feel the experience, because that's invaluable. It's being the character in the movie. It's not watching the movie. And imagine how much more you learn from the experiences that happen. And it's like if it was a true reality show, I don't know how real some of them are, but you're just letting life happen and you're going to just roll with the punches with it. But hopefully you're not going to get caught in that merry-go-round of going up and down and around and around. And friends I have and clients that are psychologists say that people get so comfortable in a pattern that it's more, even though it's like someone could be like in a relationship where they're battered, but that feels normal to them and they can't get off that train. See, your soul agreement is to come and let go of some of those ideas so that you can overcome karma. And it's so important because as I often tell my friends and family, Earth's a nice place to visit, a very nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live here.
It's a little bit complicated sometimes. It really is.
But don't you feel like when you're talking to spirit, it's so light, it's so bright, it's just a different energy. It's a higher energy.
Yes, absolutely. And the different ways we work with energy, it really helps us to understand the distinctions. So yeah, I think like we've chosen to come here in our physical body, just like you said, like putting on a costume, picking a role. And then there's our universal self that has had multiple lifetimes. And it's like we're trying to fit the patterns of the universe into the patterns of the body, and they go all wonky. They really do. And our mind loves to ruminate, and then within fear, we definitely cycle a different way than the universe cycles, and then we find ourselves having such difficulty within our lessons, and it's because like the human body is built so differently than the way the universe is built. Like chemicals go off that keep us trapped. Like you said, like if someone's in a bad relationship, that horrid state makes us feel certain things, and we don't have this natural mechanism to leave. We have a natural mechanism to stay based on the way the human body like has us respond.
We love drama. We're addicted to drama. The Dalai Lama, or no, I'm sorry, it was Buddha said, and I'm paraphrasing how he said it, but he says, your soulmate when you're in a relationship that's kind of like this, because we're so, used to this, because when you find your matching vibration, there might be a couple little bumps, but it's not going to be this, big up and down way of being. But, Spirit showed me this in a meditation one time, because people asked me to explain, the difference between spirit and soul. I see our soul as like a bathtub of water. Okay. That's the essence of us. When we incarnate, it's like we pick a body, which is the glass. We scoop up part of that soul, which is spirit. We come and have the experience. We create the karma and so forth. Then when we're done, we dump the water back into the tub. The next incarnation, you take out another glass of water. So it's not identical, but the insight is available to us if we get in that deeper state of consciousness. And I think what was valuable about Edgar Casey's teachings is he taught us that our psychic mind it's hypersensitive to even the physical world, and that helps us to communicate, with mediumship, with astrology, with numerology, and so forth. But the true master is someone who can really get into the essence of their intuition, the I am presence, the sense of God, knowing that you are one with Source, Creator, God, because it's then and again, the analogy I give is if you have a computer and you're just doing like Word, that's being in your conscious mind. But when you're connected to the World Wide Web, imagine all the information. But imagine expanding that so much more fold when you're connected to the universal wide web. And that's what you do when you align with your intuition. Is your mind is it's like expanding a antenna that has unlimited, G's. We're at 5 G's with our technology. This is billions of G's, and you can, sense anything. You're part of everything. You're worthy of it. You deserve it. You don't need to go to a teacher. You don't need to go to a, someone who has a bestseller book. It's you. It's all about you, and understanding that you're just like everyone and that you have that ability, and there's nothing special. When people tell me, oh, you're so lucky you have the gift, I said, you know what my gift is? My gift is I listen. I take the time of stillness and listen. That's the gift. You could do the same thing if you wanted to, but that's really what it's all about. That we're all wired the same way. We all get to choose where we put our attention. And I think it was Louise Hay that said, where attention goes, energy flows. And so, that we should be mindful of where we're putting our attention.
Attention is very powerful. A really cool question that someone asked, it was Keith, from your perspective, I'm going to put it up. Do you believe that the soul is living in the heart as much as it is in the body?
So the soul is a vibration that's at a much higher rate than anything in the physical. I think if you looked at the spirit, an aspect of the soul, and I think if it was your whole soul, it would be so bright that, no one would see it. But you're taking a little piece of it, and think of it as, I use the analogy of Pigpen from Charlie Brown, how he has like that dirt field around him. Well, we have a vibrational field around us. And the heart is, metaphysically, the heart chakra is in this aspect of the body, but it's in the center because the 3 chakras above have to do with consciousness. The 3 chakras down below have to do with emotions. They're grounded to the earth. So we're taking our earth and our higher self and we're merging them. And again, the heart's so beautiful in its ability to circulate. It's about circulating. It's giving and receiving and giving and receiving. But the essence of your heart, I believe, I see it more from that metaphysical point of view than I do actually the organ itself. The organ's amazing, what it can do. But I think it's more symbolic. There are organ systems associated with each aspect, but to me, it's just like this. And I appreciate your question, Keith, but the way I look at it is every part is as important as the other. If my liver didn't function, I'd have problems. My kidneys, my heart, my lungs, there's such a complementation. And what's beautiful about your body, again, is the principle of harmony and balance, homeostasis. Everything wants to be in balance. That's the natural way to being. But you know what my ego will do? My ego will give me a thought. My blood pressure will go up. My respiration rate goes up. My heart rate goes up. I can change it like that. But your body has so much wisdom, and it's just naturally going to try to go back to the normal. And boy, do we have a wrestling match with that. And if you want to age quickly, then challenge your homeostasis frequently.
Yeah, that's true. Oops, a lot of people do that here on Earth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, getting to Keith's question too, you could look at why would someone pick a body that we would call defective? Like if someone has a mental issue or they have a physical disability. See, we call it a disability, but perhaps that soul picked that body so that it could have an experience that it couldn't have otherwise. Someone who's, I've read a book recently where someone was blind, all the light that we can see. It was about World War II and this blind girl, but her auditory was so powerful and it was helpful for her in different aspects of her life and in that experience. So, it's really important to not label things and not judge things because, we don't know. I've done past, so part of my soul progression readings is I'll look at people's fear and where they came from. And one of the first ones I did was on a cousin who was born mentally challenged. Like he can't even lift his head, like he's been in bed his whole life. And my aunt felt bad and felt guilty, like, did I do something wrong? And when I did a past life with him, he was a lieutenant in the Nazi army, and he imprisoned people and trapped them. He wanted to be in a body that trapped him so he could feel that. It's not punishment. It's to understand it more so that in the future, he'll help disabled people. Like it, when we look at one snapshot and make a judgment, we're not looking at the whole thread. And that's why don't be so hard on yourself either. If there's something you're dealing with here, if there's an addiction, if there's a health issue, release the judgment you have on yourself, because first of all, that's not going to help you to heal, but understand that there's wisdom in it. And again, this is where I really appreciated Louise Hay's work, Carolyn Mace, because they talk about how disease, and I never understood this when I was younger, is how can disease be your teacher? But you develop disease in specific parts of your body based on the personality stuff. So it's not by chance now that heart and lung disease are the #1 diseases in the US for adults. This is about self-forgiveness. It's about letting go. It's about loving without judgment, without expectation. And I think, we're all working on that to some extent. But when it becomes chronic over time and you can't forgive or you hate, or it's going to show up in your body. Your body talks to you according to what you're processing. And that's why they said it's such a great teacher. Disease is such a great teacher because, yeah, you could go and let's say someone has breast cancer and they have, they get all the treatments, they get the surgery, the radiation, chemotherapy, but the essence of the thought that caused that should be addressed, because that's where you truly heal. The body isn't going to last forever. And if that person leaves now or leaves 10 years from now, the important thing is, what was it that perpetuated that thought so that I can heal through it? I think that's where medicine is really heading. They're opening the door to a lot of metaphysical things. Sound is being used even to shatter tumors and in gallstones and things like that. Light, look at lasers and light. We're going, we're really discovering the beauty of energy. And that's why, and then people do Reiki treatments and it's just amazing how vibrations, it's all about vibrations.
There's really so much. The human body is so comprehensive with what it's connected to. Absolutely. And it seems we're talking about patterns a lot today and why we keep certain patterns and what they make of us. And something I know that I wanted to cover with you was manifestations, and I guess how to create different patterns or to have mastery of our patterns. How have you been utilizing that within your work?
So one of my favorite historic figures, Michelangelo, he often said when he got a piece of marble, the figure was already in there. I just have to remove the pieces. Well, with manifestation, you already believe it is, and then you allow it to happen. Meditation is a practice to show the essence of who you are, but also to practice in receiving. We're not great at receiving. Again, we often see, oh, this person deserves this, or this person doesn't deserve that, or I don't deserve this. But manifestation puts us in the essence of, I am a magician. I'm that genie. Give me myself 3 wishes. And that's what I do in my journal in the morning is I have my 3 wishes of the day. And the wish might be, and you speak as if it already is. I have optimal health. My intuition is going to expand and grow. And you take that energy in your day. So imagine waking up first thing and writing down a list of 3 to 5 things of where are you putting your energy today? You control it. Yes, I go and do my teaching. Yes, I go and do my readings. Yes, I have to go to the grocery store. But when I set the intention of what I'm doing that day, even when I'm doing those other activities, I'm being spoken to. And that's what's so cool is you're basically whispering to the universe, hey, this is where I'm putting my energy today. And hey, it's going to show it back to you. But manifestation, I really love Jay Shetty's work. He's huge, one of the biggest podcasters. He wrote a book, Think Like a Monk. But he has this great program, and I use it with my high school students, seniors. I love doing this to help them prepare for where they're going with their life. They do an inventory of the knowledge they have. Okay, I've studied history, I've studied geometry and so forth. Then you take your skills, and skills are those things you're born with. Your natural ability. Some it's organizational, some it's color. Like others, they work well with plants, or they just know how to work with music. You take your skills, your knowledge, and your wisdom, and you put it with passion. Passion is what makes your heart sing. And this is why we're here. We're here to find that. What makes you so excited that it no longer feels like work? And see, for me, it's learning about science and metaphysics and sharing it. Like this isn't work to me. This is joy. And then your compassion is to serve others by bringing those together. And that's the principle of manifestation. You're bringing about who you are. That's why it's so easy to do. You're bringing the essence of yourself. You've got to get rid of all the barriers that have helped you back. And through the process of manifestation, what I like to do is I like to help people understand how it fits even in their soul path. If you're here to overcome the silent child and to be genuine and sincere and express yourself, then your manifestation, you can do that in so many different ways, but you better pick one that really makes you excited about it. I mean, come on, this is fun. Life is supposed to be fun. We got to get rid of the old paradigm that's, suffer, suffer, suffer. And our society, for some reason, loves martyrs and victims. And the news is filled with it. Politics is filled with it. It seems like the more someone is a victim, oh my gosh, that person's wonderful. And I don't like that. I don't like to encourage that in people, because I want to see the warrior in them. I want to see them take themselves to a new level, a level where they've never been before. And when you can do that for a student or a friend or a client, or even connect them to the spirit world, it's really amazing. It really is. I mean, there's just, to me, that's the magic of life. And I want my life to be magical. I am not one who can be complacent. I'm a perpetual student. I think we all are when we let ourselves be. Just let go of the heaviness of the world and connect to your spiritual nature. And the way that I see manifestation is I take people through first, doing that daily thing where you're putting your energy, and then looking at your limiting beliefs about it, and then coming up with 3 affirmations around that limiting belief. So if someone's like, I really want to write a book about my life, their limiting belief is, no one wants to read my book because there's so many books out. And then you help them write an affirmation like, my book will open the hearts of millions. And then you take them to a gratitude. I appreciate that I have the ability to write. I appreciate that I have a story to tell. I appreciate the life path I've had so that I can present it. And then you do the visualization. And visualization is so important because you're going to the unseen world and you're seeing what already is happening. You're making it so much more likely to happen. You're being that Michelangelo, you're chipping away at that marble so the masterpiece can fall right in front of you. And your determination and intention is really important. When you are determined and when you have the intent, it's like turning the volume up, and it's right there. And what's so beautiful about it too is it will be presented to you in divine timing. So when we manifest, we don't worry about when it or how it happens. Just tell you a quick story. I had a manifestation 2 years ago where I wanted to go to Europe. This was after COVID, and I hadn't been to Europe in like 7 or 8 years, but I wanted to go somewhere new. And of course, my limiting beliefs, I don't have the money, and now I'm teaching. I won't have time because when I'm not teaching, I want to go see family. So what I said, nope, I'm gonna be open. 3 weeks before the Spanish club was going to Spain, one of the advisors had to drop out. And guess who they asked to go? So not only did I get to go to Spain, I got to go for free, and I got to go to school. So it happens that way. Like, that's the magic of it. You just have to let go of the limiting beliefs. It's so people will say, you're so lucky. And it's so, no, I'm more aware. I think it has to do with awareness more than luck.
Yeah, you're co-creating. What a fantastic Michelangelo quote. And if someone was to really start their day in the way of visualizing and just like picking away or letting go of anything that clouds or isn't part of the vision, or you said you start your day sometimes with writing down 3 wishes. Wow. That would be pretty magnetic. What would happen then next? Electric and magnetic.
Well, I used to be a news junkie, and I would go to my phone and right away listen to the news. I'm like, oh my God, this is so depressing. I don't want to be here. So it's a different approach. And the other thing I like to do is, so I work out in the morning too, and I like to bring the energy of that into my workout, and just that's where I'm kind of visualizing as I'm going through the workout is, oh, look, I can see this happening, or I can feel this. And when you visualize, you make it as real as possible. You see it, you hear it, you taste it, you smell it. You put yourself at the scene. That's how I see it. And when it comes to manifesting, again, I appreciate Jay Shetty's, but Mel Robbins, I highly recommend her. She is phenomenal. Boy, she is just so inspiring. But she has lots of videos out. You can go on YouTube and she'll show you like what are things that block manifestation. Another really cool guy though on manifestation is Craig Kegley. He was a rock star drummer, and he's this manifester now, and he has really what I appreciate about him is how he teaches you how to journal and how important it is. So in the front of my journal, I have all my favorite quotes, and then the first page are my favorite affirmations. A couple of my favorites are something wonderful's on the verge of happening. I welcome all the miracles of today. I meet the perfect people at the right time. And just those are mantras now in everyday life, and it happens. It becomes habit. It's changing the habit into that, but that's what manifestation is: reconditioning your mind and repositioning your energy so that you can receive that which you desire. And it's not about money. It's not about power. It's just about your purpose, your dharma, and there's nothing more successful and exciting to meet someone who is there.
Absolutely. They feel just as magnetic and electric of what they're sending out into the universe is all around them. I think it's fantastic how much we're talking about patterns and really creating like a more heart-centered homeostasis for ourselves and what we're doing with our energy. What do you have coming up with what you are teaching within your work, and what are you most excited to be offering people currently?
So what I do is I offer Zoom meetings weekly. Right now I'm going through a series of intuition, and people can join for a night or they can do the series. We just did the first night. We have 3 more. Next month I want to do on perceiving your aura, because I want to have people. Everyone can feel auras. We all know if we're creeped out when we meet someone or we feel really good about them. People get frustrated because they can't always see them. It doesn't matter if you see them, because people who can see them can't always tell what it means. What's important is that you feel the essence. So I'm going to do a series in that way. And then I do one called Connecting Points. And this is for people who've lost a loved one. I help them create something like a dream board. They connect a board of all the main connections they've had with that person. And they, you put it on your refrigerator or somewhere where you're visiting often. But I also teach them techniques of how to reconnect with that person in a whole different way, but in a very meaningful way. The analogy I give is my family all lives back east, and I love them, but I don't have to be in their physical presence to know they're part of me. Like, I trust it that much. Well, people who've lost someone they really love have to take a big step when they go on the spiritual side over to back to the spiritual world, and trust and believe the essence that they're there. And that's where mediums can be helpful in providing evidence of that person's presence and helping them understand that everything is divinely planned, that there's not accidents, like accidents don't happen. And helping people to overcome like guilt and shame when loved ones go, because often I found with parents especially, they tend to blame themselves somehow for their child's passing, no matter how they passed. And it's really important for them to understand. Again, this goes to one of my favorite quotes. It comes from, oh my gosh, going brain dead. The essence of it is, you bring your child into the world. It's the prophet. The book's The Prophet, but you bring, it's Gibran, a beautiful book, but you bring your child into the world, but it's you bring them there for them to come in and have their experience. And he has this beautiful stanza that he's talking to a mom about. Her role was to bring that person here, but then let them have their life experience. That's so important because first of all, it's having trust in the universe, having faith in your child that they'll find the path, but sending them out the door with a lunch that is, inspiring and not like, oh my gosh, I'm worried this is going to happen. I tell people often that I have two friends, okay, and they're both amazing moms. One mom sends them out the door like, oh, just have a great day and wonderful, and everything's gonna be great and wonderful. The other mom is like, oh my God, watch out for the dog down the street. Make sure you don't do it. And that packaging that energy out the door. Well, guess whose kid? They both have 4 kids. Guess whose kids run into more problems?
Yeah, you program them to be anxious and fearful.
Yeah. So we that's just we have to be mindful and not even do that to ourselves.
There's so much. So I want to make sure that people can find you too on multiple platforms. So we have your website, but with Instagram or Facebook, where can people find you too to learn?
Yeah, on Instagram I'm Medium Geof, but Geof's Geof, and on Facebook it's Jeffrey Jowett. So it's the Jeffrey Geoffrey Jowett. Those are the 2 main platforms. I'm not huge into technology, and my nieces and nephews try to keep me up to speed, but good luck with that.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah. Technology is not my favorite area. I hear you. Excellent. So people can reach out and become part of the things that you're offering. And it goes so quickly. It really does. But what I always try to do is give the guest the last word of something they'd wish to share, whether it's a favorite saying, something just off the cuff, however you're inspired. And thank you for everyone coming on in, by the way, for all your lovely comments, Jennifer, Keith, and Beatrice, Stacia, and everyone else. Marie, thank you so much. What is something that comes to you with the final word?
Befriend your higher self and make some time to get to know your higher self today and every day. and you'll meet a wonderful person who's just been patiently waiting to be heard.
Beautiful. With that said, we have someone waiting to be in commune with us always. We always have a friend, right? We always have a light. Thank you so much, Jeff, for being with us here today. It was fantastic, and I really enjoyed getting to know more about your background and all the wisdom that you have acquired along
Well, I
the way.
appreciate it. It was a great conversation. There's nothing like good conversation.
I agree. And my goodness, it was like I was only talking to you for 10 minutes. I can't believe we're here already.
Yeah,
Um,
I joke with people though. I grew up with 5 sisters, and I never got a word in edgewise. So now, when you give me a microphone, I just want to talk.
well, it's part of your dharma, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Came full circle. It all makes sense. So I'm glad you're here with us, speaking your truth. Thank you so much. Please know you're always welcome on the show. Thank you, and everyone else for coming on in. Thank you so much for making the show what it is and the community that it is. With that said, everyone, I will see you next week for the numerology hour on Wednesday, and then we have Embracing Infinity as well in the psychic hour 2 coming up for shows. Please join us. But with that said, please go with love, luck, and light, and don't forget to live, everybody. Take care, and we will see you next week. Bye. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.